The Cinderella in college basketball is a mainstay. March Madness, everyone tunes in. Are we going to get a 15 or a 13 or a 12 that makes a miracle run to the Final Four? But in college football, we haven't really had that. And all of a sudden, we've got Washington here, or we had TCU last year. And to be clear, I'm not talking about making a run to the title game. I mean winning a title. Can it happen? Well, TCU came up short last year. We'll see what Washington does. And I'd side note this. Do you think Washington qualifies as a Cinderella? I would, because they haven't been a staple at the head table of college football. But the idea of a college football Cinderella, I've had big disagreements with a lot of my own friends on this topic. My buddies, believe it or not, are probably expansionists to a 70 percentile. 30% of my social circle is with me, 70% love the expanded playoff. And I have spoken to many of them, and I am speaking about them because I think they reflect what a lot of you feel. And what a lot of you have told me you feel is you like expanding the playoff because, yes, even if it will water down some parts of the regular season, you think that trade-off is worth it because you can get more inclusion, you can get more people at the table, more people get an opportunity, you get more football on the back end, and you think it presents the opportunity for someone to make a run that otherwise would not have made a run. So a lot of that's true. You do get more football on the back end. I don't think the trade-off's worth it. I've made my point and stance perfectly clear on this. I don't think it's worth it. But you are right. You do get more inventory on the back end. There are more playoff games. It is true that more teams will be alive for a postseason berth, which I spelled B-I-R-T-H until about 5 years ago, by the way. I was painfully late in life learning that there were multiple spellings of the word birth. I think I just did some of you a favor, and you avoided embarrassment, and for that, you're welcome. But I'm looking at this differently, and I hope I'm wrong about it. This is another area I wouldn't mind being wrong in. I think we are lessening the chance that we're ever going to have a Cinderella run to a championship. You're going to, by the very nature of expanding the playoff and by the very nature of auto bids for now being baked into the entire playoff cake, sure, you're going to get Tulanes and whatnots. You're going to get an Ole Miss. Like, you're going to get teams like that in the playoff. You can't help but to have that. That's not a big feat. If you just keep expanding the thing, everyone makes the playoff. Like, that's not impressive. What would be impressive is Ole Miss getting in the playoff and winning 3 games or 4 games or whatever it'll take, depending on how big the thing ends up becoming, and winning a title. But to me, this is the opportunity. Having a 4-team field was always the highest percentage chance that you were going to get a Cinderella to make a run to the national championship. So think about what happened this year. Washington played the game as it's currently allowed to be played. They went and got a transfer portal quarterback. They recruited and developed very well. Like, these dudes are all in their 20s, and some of them getting close to 25 years old. They've been developed. They've played together. They've been phenomenally coached. They rarely give games away. They've now famously won 10 games in a row by 10 points or less. And they won the Pac-12 championship game, so they had to win a couple of games as underdogs against Oregon. Turns out they were the better team, so they got it done. Then what do they have to do? They have to go win 1 game at the Superdome against Texas and out-execute them like they did and out-physical them like they did, and boom, they're in the national championship game. And they're a 4.5-point dog in this game. And those 2 things, if you do it, you win a championship. Whereas in the future, you got to do 1 or 2 more things, and you got to play a tougher schedule, because your Cinderella in the future is presumably in a tougher conference, and therefore you've got a tougher slate. And even if you are good, guys, even if you've got the same developmental structure, even if your program is sound, your coaches are good, what about injury? You just open yourself up to the risk of more injury. You have more collisions, like you have more plays you have to play. And so here's the retort I get to that. I know what some of you are saying right now. I'll do my best to articulate it for you. You're listening to me and you're saying, yeah, maybe that's true. But Josh, what you're underestimating is what it will mean just for more of those Cinderella teams to make the playoff. And to that, I think you're right now, but I think that'll be flawed logic in the future. So right now, the concept of, just pick a team, I don't know, South Carolina. The concept of them making the playoff now is huge, because you've come to define the playoff with the scarcity in spots that it should be defined with. The playoffs had 4 spots. Back in the BCS days, it had 2 spots. So making the title game, or in the modern age, making the playoff, it's huge because it's really hard to do. And therefore, even if you just made the playoff, Michigan State once upon a time made the playoff, yeah, it's a really big deal. I ask you this. I've asked it before, I'll ask it again. When in history, economics, college football, whatever, have you ever been able to decrease the scarcity of something but maintain the value? So we got more of the thing, but the thing still maintains its value. It's never been done. And I would argue it's not going to be done with playoff spots. I just think that the emotion has crept into the conversation so much that many people, including people in my own social circle, and you know who you are ignoring the basic logic of market forces and whatnot. And what I'm trying to tell you is in the future, what it means to make the playoff will not have near the value that it used to. And where does that impact things? It impacts the value it places on more regular season games. The thinking right now is, since we got more playoff spots, there'll be more regular season games with more on the line. There'll be more playoff games, there'll be more regular season games with playoff implications. I just don't think it's going to have nearly the impact that it does right now. And in the aggregate, you're taking away the impact of the high value regular season games, because the Ohio State-Michigan game, for example, would be more for seeding. Like the Alabama-Georgia, if they played late in the year, probably be more for seeding. So we're lessening the impact of those prime games, featuring teams that probably have the highest likelihood of winning a title in the end of things. And we're trying to manufacture emphasis on games featuring teams that we probably know and will come to learn to know are going to be out in round 1 or round 2 anyway. It's never been worth the trade-off to me, but you know what? I'm in the minority, so we'll see how it works out.